All right, what's going on, people? We are back. Constant Approach, another episode in the books. My name is JV Wins, here with your boy Dogon SS. Back to talk about a couple of trending topics for the week and, all of that good stuff. Mm-hmm. So, first up, we got a viral clip. Well, I don't know how viral it is. I don't know. But I saw this on World Star and I thought it was entertaining. Mm-hmm. It's a clip from the We in Miami podcast. Celina Powell was on the We in Miami podcast. Now, I don't know what she does. I don't know if I'm guessing she's it's obvious she's an influencer. I know who she is. I just don't know what she does other than be a social media influencer. I guess she's one of these Instagram model type women. I don't know. That's less important though. What is important is this particular clip. We pulled it from the We in Miami podcast. So in this clip, she's talking about, different, high profile men that she's been with and various other things, yada, yada.
You've ever dated a celebrity?
Hang on, let me bring it back.
Raise your hand if you've ever dated a celebrity.
I always like have a flashback. It was Young Thug.
Oh shit. Young Thugger.
Damn. But it was great, and he paid me. Only $3,000.
Okay, so Thug was the best you ever had. Who was the second best?
That's a tie between like 50 Cent. She's jumping in.
Snoop or 50 Cent? You had to choose one. Snoop.
I feel really bad. I shouldn't have done all that to him. I
He
was
is a
so surprised
legend.
when I was fucking him. I was like, oh my god. I'm still waiting for Drake.
Drake?
Thank you.
Drake?
That was my second choice. I'm still waiting for you. He told me I was dark and disturbed.
Oh shit.
That's fine, Daddy. You can't dream of fucking Tory Lanez. If you want to fuck Tory, that's just so easy. But Tory hates me. I'm trying to smash. What's up?
You ever look back like, I fucked up? Is there someone that you think like, yo,
100%.
you fucked up with academics?
100%. I left. Because like some girl told me that he came inside of her and I was like, that's it. So I went on live and I talked so much shit and I put all the bitches he fucked on live.
No. At one time?
Yeah, on one time.
How many bitches was it?
It was like 10. It's all on YouTube.
What?
I embarrassed the fuck out of him. I had 100K viewers watching this. I
10
embarrassed the fuck out of him.
Damn, son.
And you, after a while, you kind of regretted that shit. Like, damn, bro, I fucked
Well,
up.
I can't say never since before now. But I didn't talk to him. And then that day, I left and I went to Booby Trap. Met my boyfriend.
The same day.
I didn't look back for a year and a half.
Damn.
And then just recently.
So if he said he'd give you another chance, would you go back?
Hell yeah. I'd be begging every day. I'm like, please. Please.
Academics, if you watching this, she wants you back, fam.
Please.
We got to get you on the show, man. We got to talk about this. We bring both of y'all on and do some couples counseling.
God, I wish. You have academics' name on me.
You lying. Let me see. You lying. No way.
I have his name 7 times.
Let me see. You lying.
Babe, dick is gone. Stop it.
Hold on.
So AK.
Damn.
And the rest I got covered because I was mad at him. But I had academics right there. I had Livingston, which is his real name. Academics right there.
What?
Don't lie.
Yo.
And then right here is academics. Livingston.
I feel like there's a side of Celina that we don't know. I think that there's a soft side of her that just really wants to be in love, that wants to have kids and the white picket fence and
that's it. That is what
you ever want that shit?
I want this
Get married and make cookies for the teacher.
I did do all of that. And it still just didn't work out.
Why doesn't every
All right. So there you go. I figured we'd play the whole thing because why not? But my I guess my question to you is, because I'm not necessarily trying to assess her character, but what I do feel comfortable saying is that at a certain point, she is going to, if she's not already in the deep recesses of her own, soul, she's going to get to a point where she's like old enough that she is like, questioning why is she still, single or not married, if that's something that she's interested in, which according to that clip, it is, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, I'm not even going to really get into her behavior per se. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that because I haven't really followed her all that much. I actually don't follow her at all. I do know who she is, but it's not like I'm, following her each, every move that she makes. But my question to you rather is, when you look at that, obviously there's a lot of women who ascribe to that type of lifestyle. So what is going on internally with a lot of them where they can reconcile their present behavior, but in the future are trying to understand why they're still single or so confused as to why it is that they're still single? Does that make sense? Like what is it that is not clicking now that sort of hips them to ways to be better positioned to get those things that maybe in their minds they're better positioned for it in the future, but because of age and attrition and all of that good stuff, they might be a little less desirable at that point. What is it about this current dynamic? Like, why is there more of this going on?
I think it's just because people haven't seen it. So if they haven't been exposed to it, they haven't seen it before, then they don't have anything to duplicate, emulate, and then have patterns of thought in order to behave, like that. So if they've never seen it, then they have to either assume, learn from society, which is always the wrong thing to do. And
Right.
then so they're just left doing whatever. It's kind of like somebody who never grew up around anybody who was wealthy, and so since they never grew up around anybody who was wealthy, they don't know the tricks of the trade on the money game, and therefore they're broke even though they have potential and all these other great assets, but they can't see how they can make money even though they are a smart person. So it's the same thing goes with these women who were raised in situations where it wasn't cultivated, and they probably didn't even see a good example of what to be a good wife or a woman is to be. So then they grew up coming up with their own philosophies, which are all, they pulled it all from social media and TV shows and movies and songs. So once they pulled in this amalgamation of fantasy, then now they try to live out that fantasy, but it's a fantasy of being single and playing around. Then they hit this wall everybody talks about, and then reality sets in, and then they go, holy crap, I was playing around. I thought I was trying to be youthful and independent and fun, but the only thing I was doing was squandering my youthful years. And so it's a harsh reality once they finally hit it. And then they just go on hyper mode, and when they're either in their 30s, like when they first hit 30 or approaching 30, then they start to get real aggressive about families and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so that's at least my initial take of, how I feel like this plays out.
Yeah. Not only do they get aggressive with their desire to actually pursue it, but they also completely change, at least from what I've seen. Mm-hmm. It's like they completely change the type of guy who they want to be with, which mm-hmm. is also interesting because at that point, what is it that what are the intrinsic qualities that you actually seek in guys? It seems as though that's kind of, there's a pendulum and it swings back and forth based upon whatever point you are in your life. I think a good example that people use to cite this is, Sierra and Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. But, by all accounts, it looks like Sierra wised up, at a time when it was most ideal for her to do so. She didn't wait too long, right? Mm-hmm. She didn't wait until she hit the wall. Like, while she was still quite viable, she realized maybe Future isn't who I'm meant to marry, and maybe it is more of a guy like a Russell Wilson. Because I don't think anyone would argue that in terms of character and personality, or just, you know, in terms of just their outward behavioral patterns and traits and characteristics, you couldn't find more of a polar opposite between what is Future and what is Russell Wilson. Right. But, you know, I think, you know, much to, you know, I'm not trying to necessarily say that you can't be with a guy like Future, but I think that there's enough evidence and data at this point to support the reason why you have a lot of women who say, I dated the wrong kind of guys when I was younger, so let me date the right kind of guy. The issue for them, however, is as they get older, men are less inclined to be the honorable mention for a lot of females who decide, oh, I'm going to just get with a good guy now that I've hit the wall and am less physically attractive and am less physically attractive. And maybe I've also had a couple kids here or there. So let me get with these guys now because these are the guys that will accept me for that. You know, it's sort of a catch-22, but it's definitely a growing dynamic because as the culture shifts and the newer generations and even some pockets of our current generation ascribe to this type of mentality, it's no secret why you're seeing a correlation between it and like the degradation of what would be classified as functional relationships. I think it all kind of works hand in hand. It's just interesting because I do think that today, a lot of people, not just women, but men too, and we've talked about social conditioning before in the past, right? And we've talked about some of the things that we were exposed to, the different messages and things that sort of polluted us and sort of drove the bus in terms of the way that we think about what are some of the stuff that we want in a woman and in women. And it took a maturation process in order for us to become more well-rounded and understand that, you know, this ain't all that. Maybe there's more to it. But there's definitely a growing trend of people gleaning what it means to be in relationships based upon what they see in what I call parallel universes, places that aren't real. You know, it's tricky to determine that what you want out of your relationship situation and out of whatever prospect that you're seeking in terms of marriages and relationships is rooted in things like what you see on Instagram and what you see on these television shows, because those are controlled platforms. You can select how you want your situation to be portrayed on those things. You have ultimate control. So if you want to make it look like you're always jet setting across the world or living this type of lifestyle without showing the inverse of that, because every situation has an inverse. If you're the type of person who is always on these platforms and you're always exposing yourself to these messages, you know, it can cause you to create a warped perception of reality in which what it is that you deserve or are entitled to, what it is that you are seeking is that because you believe that that is what it is like all the time, when that's not really what it's like all the time. That's only what it's like a portion of the time. But like you said, I think that a lot of that is rooted in the fact that in a lot of people's immediate environment, unfortunately, they don't have the opportunity to observe what the real thing is like. And so they just kind of develop their own observations based upon things that aren't actually real. You know, it's actually based on false evidence. And you go out into the world and you live that in reality. And if you don't have anything to counterbalance yourself, then you have what I think amounts to people like her, who are she kind of sounds like she doesn't really have a firm grip on reality from what I can tell. And coupled with that, you know, it's going to be tough for her to sell herself to a suitor with all of those tattoos all over her and her, you know, arguably sketchy history in terms of how she's kind of been what would be classified as an industry thought. Good luck being someone who is looking for those types of things. And, you know, again, this doesn't just pertain to females. It pertains to men too. Good luck with a guy like Future, who at some point when he decides he wants to mature, says, I want to get married. You know, good luck to him finding a wholesome chick. He's going to have to choose between which industry thoughts are the best ones for him to marry, essentially, if marriage is something that he wants to do. I'm not saying that it is, but if he gets to that point, good luck finding these angelic suitors that you're going to think this is what it is that I want now that I've matured and advanced in terms of my thought processes. So, you know, the only concern that I have about this, if you would even call it a concern, is the prevalence of it. So for younger generations, you know, I got younger nephews and younger guys who I know who ain't on this kind of stuff. But they want attractive women all the same. And so my only concern is, what does this look like for future generations, which is something that you reference. Like, what does it look like for my nephew who is currently 11 years old? Like, he, you know, he wants attractive women all the same. And so is he going to have to essentially orient his dating life around younger girls who have this kind of thought process and mentality? It's something to think about and ponder. I don't know the answer to it. At this point, I'm just one singular squirrel trying to get my singular nut and not worry about trying to fix the world or understand why the world is the way it is. But I do think that it's something that is to ponder, because you're only seeing more videos like this, not less, where you have women who talk, act, and behave this way, but will still at the end of the day talk about how they want the white picket fence and want to be married and domesticated. And a lot of it just seems counterintuitive to their behavior.
And agree, and that's why I related it to the philosophy of them just going to the league. And marriage to them is going to the league. It's a prestige thing for them. It's like getting a scholarship to a Power 5 school. So it's a thing for them. It's a badge of honor. And so even the women that are not even suitable, as we talked about, and some of them, you know, like this young lady, ain't trying to bash on her, but, you know, seem far from suitable.
Yeah.
And so in situations like this, and still saying that they want marriage, that is a great equivalent of playing at the rec center and some guy who doesn't even have a left and his jumper looks like, you know, Cartwright or something. And so now it's just like, oh, okay. And he has NBA dreams. Say, how old are you, kid?
Yeah.
How old are you, kid? I'm 17. It's like, bro, it's you missed the boat. So I'm not trying to be the guy to crush your dreams, but you missed the boat.
Yeah.
And so, but you can't tell that kid nothing. He's going to the league. So same thing with these girls. I just feel like there's just a level of delusion, you know, that comes along with it. But they want that trophy at the end of the day. They want to feel like they were worth something. They were worth, you know, some guy sacrificing everything for, you know. And so when that's the situation, that's what makes them yearn for it so much, even though low key they feel as though they really don't deserve it. Yeah. And so it's a wild dynamic. To me, it's kind of sad. You know, but when you take in somebody, you know, with her energy, I'm not even going to talk about her. That her energy is going on, as you said, it's becoming more prevalent. So when you take in somebody with her energy, what do you expect is going to happen? Like, she's not going to change who she is. And so even with the best lifestyle that you could provide, you know, you're being a real man, you're securing everything. She feels financially secure, physically secure. You know what I'm saying? She respects you as an intellect, all the above. But she's still going to do her thing. She's still going to be in somebody's DM, or somebody's going to be in her DM. She's going to find a way to play around with it and risk it all. You know, I don't know what she apologized for Snoop for, but she was messing with Snoop, apparently. I mean, it's not going to end in a marriage or anything, but apparently she messed up so much that he had to do away with her. So
Yeah, I think what she was doing, it was a viral thing that happened a while back. She was putting chicks on blast that he was with. I think is what she was doing. Like she was going public, like Snoop's done this, been with this chick, been with that chick, blah blah blah. Is
yeah.
what she was doing.
So when you're dealing with somebody that has this on their credit score, I'm not giving this woman a loan. So there's nothing that I'm sorry. There's nothing that women with this energy set could do for people that aren't on that energy set themselves. So just like how you said, her and a guy like Future makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they're both in that ratchet energy space. She slides on somebody, he's sliding all the time. So nobody really cares and everybody's happy because it's some weird open relationship. That makes sense. But if you're dealing with somebody that actually wants a real marriage, in a real situation with the responsibilities, and you have that energy about yourself, it's just not going to work. So marriage is possible for anybody. There's someone for everybody. People just have to look in the mirror and see where they're at, and then marry where they're at. So but the tattoo, the multiple tattoo stuff is concerning, of somebody's name, the same person named multiple times. That is concerning. And so again, with that on your credit score, I don't care, you covered it up.
Yeah.
With that on your credit score, I'm not giving you a loan for that either. So she's in big trouble over here. I'm not approving any of her stuff. So if somebody wants to deal with that, that's fine. But just know, this is just the front end stuff that she's telling you. Everybody has a dark side, and behind closed doors, you don't know what people like that are so on the fringe to tattoo themselves like that. You don't know what they're going to do on the back end. So it's a wild dynamic, man. But as you say, it's becoming more and more prevalent. And as far as the future generation thing goes, if they weren't raised, man, by old school people, and I hate to sound like that guy, but if they weren't raised by old school people with some types of values and not just whatever, it's going to be hard to keep this behavior in line, because this is the only type of behavior they have been seeing since they've been consuming television. So it's rough, man. Real rough.
Yeah, it is rough. Yeah, I just think that you kind of answered your own question. Like when you talk about someone with that kind of credit score, who's going to give her a loan? Well, it's going to be someone else who also has bad credit who gives her a loan, and that's pretty much what it boils down to. Is at this point, I agree with you. There's somebody for everybody, and I'm a firm believer in compatibility. So the only thing that tends to get me a little confused is the delusional aspect of people who are a certain type of way but claim to want to be in a relationship dynamic with their opposite. Yeah, with their polar opposite. And that's when I'm just like, okay, well, do you even have any kind of self-awareness? It's one thing for her to be like, I would just be I wouldn't be surprised because I've seen it before, but it would just be disappointing if there is some good guy with values somewhere down the road who marries her. I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be disappointed in him because at that point you're just doing it for the opportunity to marry what you perceive based upon your generation and your upbringing to be an attractive female, which nowadays is these types of women, these Instagram model stripper type women. That's the only thing about it that I'm just like kind of, huh? But see, where women can get away with stuff like that, men can't, because all the chick has to do essentially, and we touched on this before, is just kind of look good. And at some point, there's a sucker born every second. Whereas if you're a guy, it doesn't really matter what your background is. If you don't come to the table with the bag or the economic wherewithal to compete on a high enough level. It doesn't matter where she's thought. It doesn't matter whether she's thought or not. You're just kind of left out in the cold. But yeah, I just think that this thing is gonna. I think that the very nature of relationships is just changing, and so you alluded to her being in DMs and him being in DMs. I think that's what we're looking at moving forward. We're just looking at situations where it's like socially accepted polygamy, essentially, on both sides, men and women, where it's just like, yeah, you might be my girlfriend or my boyfriend in terms of title, but yeah, I got all kinds of chicks that I'm sliding on here, and yeah, I got all types of dudes that I'm sliding on here. It's just going both ways, and that's pretty much what the new normal is going to be. It's no different than like, accepted censorship in entertainment, and comedy, and TV, and music, and movies. You can't say certain things anymore because now it's offensive, even though it remains an accurate reflection of the way society actually is. Nevertheless, entertainment has been neutered to the point where we have to accept the reality in which you can't say the same things that you used to be able to say and get away with. And now I think it's more of an accepted reality where now it's like, hey, man, you might meet a girl and you might like her and you might want her to be your girlfriend, but you have to understand and accept the reality that at all times, it doesn't matter what day it is, it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, it doesn't matter what hour, month, week, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you might like her, and yeah, she might actually like you too. But it is entirely possible that she is also entertaining several other men on her Instagrams or her TikToks or her whatevers, and you're just not the only guy that she is with. And that's just normalcy. It's the normalization of the behavior. And that's kind of what I see moving forward. That's pretty much what I think we're looking at. And, I don't necessarily like it, but, it is what it is. I can't change it. So,
well, that's why I recommend getting women that are off the grid.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if they do have a Facebook, they're not active on it.
Yeah.
If they do have an Instagram, they're not active on it. And I'm genuinely, like not active on it. So she can have it she can just have it to message somebody. I mean, that is a possibility. But what I mean is she doesn't even do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, I have it as a utility. Like, oh yeah, when my friends share me stuff, that's why I have it.
Yeah, right.
That type
or
of
like
stuff.
she likes looking up cooking recipes or something like that.
You know what I'm saying? Or makeup tutorials or something, whatever.
Yeah. There's a clear difference. Yeah, there's a in terms of your usage, but yeah, off the grid, like all of these postings and you're leveraging your body on social media and all of that.
I mean, I don't know how that is in close quarters, but it seems scary to me. I don't want to deal with a girl that survives off likes.
Yeah.
And so and I don't mean surviving off likes by showing her body.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, hey man, look, this is fun to look at, but at the same time, like, what is your inboxes like? Like your inbox, like your message, like the comment section to every one of your pictures or videos is jumpers. Yeah. Everybody is shooting. Women, children, grandma, grandpa,
chickens, dogs, cats,
everybody shooting.
Yeah.
And so what am I supposed to do with this? I'm supposed to be super secure, man.
Yeah, they'll tell you that you're not secure, that you're insecure.
I'm being insecure because rats, cats, and dogs is hitting her up.
Yeah.
And everybody. And I'm insecure about that. So I'm like, nah, I can't deal with that. So, that's from the outside looking in, of course. But I mean, the whole notion of it seems terrifying to me. Mm-hmm. So I don't even want to deal with that. So that's why I really highly recommend, if you're already somebody that feels like you do have value and you're going to bring value to somebody, then I would say then deal with somebody that is off the grid and lives an off the grid lifestyle. And they don't need to be on the scene anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's spring break here and they gotta be on the scene. You know what I'm saying? Oh, whatchamajig's over there, or they gotta be there. Like that stuff is wild too. I don't know what that means. So I'm not saying good women don't party. I'm not saying, none of that stuff. I'm just saying that, hey man, there's women that don't do any of those things.
Mhm.
And if you want peace in your mind, a woman that is just going to be doing the same thing because, hey man, she's just chilling, then that's more or less what I feel like guys should be dealing with. But women like her that have all of these dynamics going on in her lifestyle, that's too much stuff, way too much baggage for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so go ahead. No, and so and by the way, while you initially were describing her, I looked her up and it says IG model and influencer. So what the hell does that mean?
I literally guessed that. I just guessed it.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
I don't know.
I didn't even know that was a profession. But I get how it is a profession because I get how they get paid, influencers, but my goodness, what? But hey, man, so she's been out there. Drake said she was dark. That was the more accurate feedback that I heard from this. Dark and disturbed, he said.
Dark and disturbed, yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like that is an accurate description of women with her energy set. Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying, man. Like as far as marriage for those types of women, I really suggest, getting help. And getting help and getting yourself right so you can start to see things in a different light, because again, you're only reenacting what you saw when you were a kid. And so unfortunately, this is what you've blossomed into. You can change, but you need to go back to the root, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, seeking change infers that you are aware that there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't.
Also fair.
Yeah, I don't think that she is aware that there is a problem.
No.
To her to even pose the notion that there's a problem might be offensive to her. She probably does not. But see, that's the thing is, for her it isn't a problem because for her that is reality. Like she probably hangs around other people. She's on a ratchet track. That's her course in life. That's what it is. And so she's around other people who live like that. She is every relationship with every guy that she's been with is probably a guy who just wants to kind of smash. And that's just kind of the reality. And so she's kind of grown up in that reality because she's grown up. She's never known a world where social media doesn't exist, right? Like she doesn't remember life before social media. Like she's growing up in that. So what do you mean do something different? What is doing something different even? I don't even know what that means. Like this is life. This is reality for, a lot of people. So, I don't think she's aware that there's an issue there, but she'll probably figure it out, like I said, unless she ends up, I don't know, like it would take a marriage to like a Future type. I know I keep mentioning Future, but he's a poster child for male dysfunctionality, so it is what it is.
Yeah,
but that's just what it would take. I don't really see it being any other way.
Yeah, and just when you're in a position, in life where you're achieving and doing things, you're gonna attract women, and it don't have to be women like this, but you're going to attract women, all kinds. And so when you ball in, they can sense it. So the thing is, you want to make sure that you avoid the aggressive women. And so the aggressive ones that like women like her who use her body as a profession. Yeah, I'm pretty sure guys go in her DM too, but she's the aggressor of trying to make this relationship, quote unquote, work or whatever. And so whenever there's a woman who's so aggressive that she was the one that came out and talked to you first kind of situation, it's one of those things where, you can respect it. you know, you're not going to judge her off of that, but be mindful that with that aggressive energy comes other things that you might not want.
Sure.
So again, so this plays into the off the grid, chill lifestyle type of person. They really don't have the balls to go and run and talk to men like that. And she ran and talked to you like that, she might run and talk to somebody else like that. So you might want to find somebody that's a little too shy to be doing things like that, or a little too humble in her own approaches to realize that that's not my duty to be running down men like that, to be talking to them. So if you're balling and doing your thing, do your thing and slay the groupies. But make sure that you keep the groupies in the groupie column and the potential women to be dealing with in a different, because women like this are only to be rentals, driven fast and then turned in. All right. And so that's all. So that's pretty much how I see this situation. And that's how I see, women like this. I treat them, I keep them at arm's distance nowadays. When I was younger, it was all to the good and everything's whatever. And everybody's getting the same fair shot, kind of, sort of. I still treated girls that I was like, whatever, but you know what I mean? I was still giving more benefit of the doubt than I should have. So just keep them at arm's distance, keep them around for a good time because they're only treating you as a good time, and don't take anything that they do personal, man, because they are just wrecking balls. They're doing whatever to anybody. So don't take anything they do personal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of them don't have a soul.
Yeah, a
lot of them don't have a soul, and men are a mark. So it is what it is. I tend to not have sympathy. Because to me, we're dealing with two sides of the same coin. So I don't have sympathy for women who are in her position, because no one has sympathy for me as a man who is told that I am worthless if I'm not making 6 figures a year. So no one has sympathy for me. I have to just accept that as my reality. If I want to be viable in this dating market, I have to be at a certain point in terms of my money and resources. Mm-hmm. Right or wrong, fair or unfair, we're dealing with two sides of the same coin. Mm-hmm. So if no one has sympathy for the fact that I am a man told that I am a mark, and I have to be making 6 figures in order to compete at a relatively competent level, then at the same time, I cannot have sympathy for females who, ascribe to this type of behavior, lifestyle, and, are unsuccessful in their marriage and dating pursuits. So all the way around, there's just accountability to be had, and it is what it is. If you want me to be sympathetic for them, then where's the sympathy for the men? Oh, I know the patriarchy. I get it. Men don't deserve sympathy. I know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I know. All right, next up, we're going to play this clip here and talk about it. It's somewhat on a similar wavelength, actually. But this was a clip that got a strong reaction from a TikToker named Kittie Rose, talking about the meaning of serving and what that means in relationships. So we'll go ahead and play that, and then we'll talk about it.
Cool.
I had a conversation with the collective of women, and I am appalled at what I heard in that conversation. When I talked about serving your partner, the majority of them snapped at me completely. We not slaves. We ain't slaves. Misogynistic, patriarchy, yeah.
Patriarchy.
And so I asked them, do you want to get married? Yeah. You want to get married and you don't know that you have to serve your partner? What does serving your partner mean to you? That's slavery. That's all that submission. Kid, you are, I can't make this up. My mind is blown right now. I just sat there and said, if you get out of this mindset that you're in complete subservience to a subordinate capacity, then you will understand what serving your partner is. I'm not talking about serving someone who controls you or serving someone or yielding to their will of dominance. I'm not talking about that. I said, when you make a cup of coffee for your partner. When you clean up, if you buy your partner a gift, if you go and get something, a smaller gift that you know your partner enjoys, or their favorite meal along the way, you're still serving your partner because you're still serving an emotional need. That's what you're still doing that. And this is vice versa. If your partner helps you out in anything, even when you want to talk about something that your partner doesn't want to talk about after a long day, and they sacrifice their time and they stop what they're doing to listen, they're still serving you. There's no way in the same sentence you can tell me you want love and you want marriage, but you don't understand that you're still going to have to serve your partner for the rest of your days. You can't serve the person that you're dating. You're doing all of this stuff for them, all of these acts of service for them to bring them in, to make them consider marrying you. And then when they marry you, it turns off because society has conditioned you to believing that that's slavery. You heard the word serve and submit, and you think it's slavery. Not understanding that it's not gender specific. You both submit and serve one another. You submit to each other and you serve one another. It would have been easier if they would have just asked me how, but the simple fact that they started off with, I'm not a slave. And I just had to say, you all are selfish. You all are selfish. And they wouldn't worry about me if it was the end of the day. Oh my gosh. I had a conversation with a collective of women.
All right. So yeah, she seems pretty smart.
Yeah.
We, so I agree with her 100%. That's no shock. I've on several videos in the past, I've talked about how the definition of words like submit have gotten lost in the shuffle in the wake of two things: modern feminism and single parenthood. Single parent households and modern feminism have created this situation where we have deconstructed the definitions of a lot of these constructs that go in to what constitutes a functioning relationship. So somewhere along the way here, submitting, the word submitting became synonymous with being a subordinate to an overlord who has a boot on your neck and is controlling you, when that's never been the definition of what submission is in a relationship. Like in any functional relationship, one will have to submit depending upon the particular scenario and the role of the person. I.e., if I'm more financially savvy and I'm handling the money in the relationship, then my wife is going to have to submit to my financial decisions and advice. She's submitting to me.
Right.
That's what submission has always meant.
Right.
If my wife knows more about interior decorating, and I'm not trying to get gender specific in terms of, because you got men who might know about interior decorating too, so I'm not going there. But what I'm saying is, if my wife knows about interior decorations, or I don't know, indoor plumbing, I don't give a damn. If she knows more about these things than I do, then I'm going to have to submit to her expertise. Exactly. That's what makes these things work. Right. But what has happened with single parent households and with modern feminism is we have taken those traditional definitions and we've warped them to our own designs. So now submission must mean, oh, I have to submit to you, or you're trying to control me. Oh no, I'm not going to allow you to exact your patriarchal dominance over me. I'm my own individual and I can make my own decisions. And that's not really what submission actually means, but that's what it's become. It's the same thing with gender roles. Like, we're trying to deconstruct traditional gender roles because the idea is they were never good, when it's actually the opposite. They were actually always good. But when we're trying to turn them into something that they were never meant to be, you can create your own reality in which you can convince yourself that there's something wrong with them. So now we can convince ourselves that a masculine man is inherently toxic, when really masculinity has nothing to do with toxicity. Those are two mutually exclusive things. Toxicity is just depraved. That's depraved behavior, and it's independent of whether it's a masculine individual or not. That's why I brought up the counterpoint at one time, where I suggested that if there is a such thing as toxic masculinity, then there must also be a such thing as toxic femininity. But we don't want to do that. We only want to talk about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
But if I'm toxically masculine, then when you're a female who uses me who extracts me from my money and resources and only leverages her sexuality in terms of what brings you to the table and what adds value to me, then why can't I interpret that as a form of toxic femininity? To me, they're two sides of the same coin. So if we're going to have one, we have to have the other. And if we don't want to have the other, then the other one doesn't exist either. So this is just all, this is a real world, this is sort of a real-time way that we have actively attempted to deconstruct a lot of these traditional tenets that have worked in order to create functional situations. We want to do away with them because you have a lot of people who have grown up in dysfunctional contexts who want to sort of attach their worldview to these, various traditional contexts. So in other words, I grew up in a single parent household where I had a mother who was embittered and hated men. And my mother was controlled by men because she exhibited poor judgment in terms of the men whom she chose to be with. And these men kept a boot on her neck. And so now what she has done to me is she's impressed upon me that all men are on the lookout to put a boot on my neck. And I refuse to allow that to happen. Exactly. Therefore, I'm not going to submit to no man because I'm not going to let no man put his boot on my neck. Exactly. That's what's going on here. Exactly. Modern feminism and, single parent households, which those two, in my opinion, are correlated. All of these things, these are some of the things that have contributed to a lot of these dynamics. And that's what I think that she was expressing in that clip.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I say that the part where them not wanting to emulate previous generations of women, therefore they're going to try to gain their own sense of independence and have a sense of being their own entity, even in a marriage. Like I've heard from women of having secret bank accounts that and stuff like that, and it's like, hey man, they're gonna be doing things like that, and so it's kind of like as men, one thing for sure, a new life motto that I've been living by for the last couple years. And, it took me this long in life to really understand it. But it's like, hey, man, nobody's going to love you like your mom. Like, forget it. What you're looking for, you're not going to find it. And so nowadays, it's best that and that's why it's important to love yourself. And take care of yourself and do all of those things and invest in yourself. Because, man, when you catch people now, they're really so looking out for self and so defensive that they don't bring their full self to the circle. And at that point, you sacrifice yourself and they get burned at the end once they do this withdrawal or something. Or then they want a divorce. And you say, what do you want a divorce for? 8 years of marriage. Now it's a divorce. Why is it a divorce? Why I don't feel the same anymore? And it's just like, wait, what's going on here? Yeah. And it's just like, hey, man, that she was talking that crazy stuff day one, man. Day one. And so that's why it's important to the evaluation process that we spoke about in the last video. Is so essential, and putting the right people in the right categories. Hey, man, you heard how she talks? She's just a good time. No. That's just a good time. Hey, you heard how she's talking? Hey, you can build something with this person. She's got common sense. You can tell her about gender roles, male and female, and she's co-signing with the stuff that you're saying.
Yeah.
At that point, you can move forward with that woman. But if and when you have conversations with a woman and then she's regurgitating these talking points of submission, like this ain't UFC, bro. Like this ain't, what I'm saying? I'm not talking submission chokeholds here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
This is not slavery. I don't know where that came from.
I don't know either. And it's just like no, and just like how the woman said, it's it's and just like how you said, it's you submit to wherever they're at. Hey, that's your thing. Hell, there you go. You know what I'm saying? if she look, I know how to cook, but I don't know how to bake. It's a difference. So I can cook, but baking is not my thing. But I love to bake. I mean, I love eating baked goods.
Right.
If she knows how to bake and I know how to cook dinner, I'm submitting for those muffins. Are you kidding me? Hey, I want those damn muffins. So I'm submitting to her because I want her to make the muffins. She told me how to make it. It don't come out the same.
Yeah, don't. Yeah.
So she makes the muffins. So it's a thing where it submission goes either way. Basically, it's just reciprocity. Hey, if you want him to be X, Y, and Z, what the hell are you doing? And so the common notion of what is going on nowadays is this whole lay on their back and want you to do all the work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, excuse me, there's two of us here. So you have to do something, And I remember, man, off topic, but on. I remember the first times that I started, I'm out there and I'm doing my thing, And so now I can report what I've been doing after, slaying a few chicks. And so now that I'm talking to new ones, and then there was and I'm like, hey man, women could be bad at sex. When I say that, at that time, we were all younger back then. But when I said that, they were baffled. What do you mean women can be bad at sex? They just thought that because it is. Vagina is awesome. All right. But if it was so awesome, it just insertion would do the job.
It's impossible to be bad. Yeah.
Yeah, they think it's impossible that sex can be bad because they have such an awesome tool. And it's just like, hey,
they've been conditioned to that. But see, they've been conditioned to believe that, though.
Yeah. And so once I'm telling them this, now they're hearing from me that, hey, I don't want no mannequin. I've known what mannequins are, and I've seen women don't have to do that. So I know the difference between the two. And of course, I say that to preface, just so we can get that established. And even if they still turn out to be a mannequin situation, it's like, yeah, what do I expect here? Yeah. So, but I say all that to say is that this privilege of I have a vagina, and that's good enough. And this whole, hey, I'm not submitting. I'm not going to do it goes to the point of, hey, look, because every guy has a level of what they feel like a woman should be doing. And so I'm a person, I cook. So I cook for myself. And if she can cook, awesome. But I can make all my own meals, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And but if she wants to cook, I would love that as well. Mm-hmm. But there's some guys out there that don't cook, don't want to cook, not interested in cooking. They want a woman cooking. That guy is going to have a woman, the same if we're dating woman X and he had her first and I got her or whatever. You pick your order. Mm-hmm. But the whole thing is that this guy that has these high standards for cooking, she's going to be in there cooking. She's going to be in there cooking initially for whatever because he's requiring it. I don't require it much. And so it's like a situation of whatever. So then if he says, hey, I need you to cook for me more. Or if she knows that cooking is his thing and she goes, look, initially she's going to do whatever it takes to get him. But then eventually it's like, hey, I'm not submitting to you or I'm not going to be doing all of this stuff. Like I'll cook twice a week. And it's like, hey man, what the hell is this? And what is his thing? His thing is I want a woman doing house chores or whatever. So whatever his thing is, whatever. I do house chores. I'll do whatever. So the same woman, she dating me. And now, I do chores. I do whatever. I'm not asking her to do those things. I'll ask her to do something that she did for him all the time, though. Not cooking, not anything else. Mm-hmm. She did this for him all the time. And then so now I say, hey, I want you to do this. Why? Well, it's a thing of me wanting her to do something and her listening to my commands. whatever my command is, she's now not going to want to do it. It's all off principle. It's not even a situation where I don't feel comfortable or whatever. It's, what do you want me to do? Yeah, not doing it. Why? Because it's not even
because you're the one that's asking me to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And so wherever your thing is, she's intentionally not going. This is not all women. These are the ones that are doing the, I ain't no slave thing.
Yeah.
And so her whole thing is, I wouldn't have known, would never know. And so her thing was, I didn't like doing that shit anyway for this guy, And then so hey, why don't you cook? Now I don't want to. Or hey, why don't you do that? I don't feel. Oh, hey, baby, why don't you? And it's like, hey, man, all of that stuff has to go out of the window. I've seen enough videos of women on the internet that say the opposite, like this woman here, that's basically explaining the truth. There is women out there that was exposed to something, had a family structure, grandma, grandpa, whatever. Or they just, for whatever reason, they just got the message and understand the assignment. But for whatever reason, there are women out there that do understand what men are saying. And so that's my thing, where it's like, hey, guys, now it's to the point where if you do want yourself a real situation, bro, it's a thing where, hey, you got to get your mind out of the sexualization box. However they got you. They got me with rap videos. And they got me with free internet sexual videos. and so for me, my whole thing was I was sexualizing every woman that I looked at. And so, she ain't got enough body. Just absolutely just casting probably good candidates out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she ain't got enough ass. Excuse me? Oh, yeah. No. Oh, her face is about a 7. I'm on 8s right now.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So what happens is this stuff, this fictitious filter, same thing we was accusing women of earlier. This fictitious filter that we've developed from entertainment has filtered out prime candidates and allowed in the women like the one that we just saw in last segment.
Yeah.
And so now we go into a situation where we're like, damn. And then we're not us particularly, but guys are trying to wife thoughts. But it's like, bro, your dial is set on whore mode. You walk out the door looking for it. Whenever you DM, and what are you doing? When you're on these dating apps, what are you doing? You're on sex mode.
Yeah.
So if you're just trying to masturbate, because that's all you're doing when you're dealing with those kinds of women. So whenever you're using a woman as a sex toy, because that's all the person is doing, if they saw somebody on Tinder, swipe left or right, I don't know what they have to do, swiping, and then y'all hook up and had sex. She just jacked you off. That was just glorified masturbation. You got nothing out of that. And so the whole thing is, if that's all people are using each other for nowadays, but how are we getting here? But then we still having this longing for actual relationships, love and affection and stuff like that. Then we try to get it out of that person that we met on the fly at a club or something like that. And then trying to turn or whatever into a housewife. And so then there's these dynamics where some guys even married them, been in long-term relationships with them, and then things just fall apart. So I just say that as a guy that realized that my filter was set on the wrong mode, now I have changed how I look at these situations. And there are women out there that make sense, that were raised the right way, probably had a lot of brothers or something, or something, and just was raised right. And it's like, hey man, that's what you need to lean towards. So but yeah, that's how I'm feeling about at least how we got into this situation where women are feeling this way about submission. It's
that's
not all, but yeah.
No, that's interesting. I got 2 reactions to 2 of the things that you mentioned. So like the first thing about guys and having their dial turned on, sex mode, like is how do I say it? Like, I think the reason why a lot of females perceive the notion of submission as slavery is because of the advent of a social conditioning which stipulates that their presence is all that they have to provide in terms of what do they need to contribute to the relationship. Oh, I'm me, I'm here, that's it, like I'm the prize. You won me, therefore that's all that. It's kind of relevant to the video that we talked about with Cam Newton, where people got all up in arms because Cam Newton was talking about, you know, you might look good, but can you cook, or do you know how to stay quiet? And we understood that what Cam Newton was talking about was intangibles.
Right.
But because he's not necessarily the most eloquent speaker or communicator, he processes intangibles as can you cook and stay quiet. We understood that, but the world kind of went at him because they hitched onto the whole cooking and staying quiet thing, similar to the way women hitch themselves to submit. Like it's like we hear these trigger words and it's like, oh, and then we go crazy. So cook and stay quiet. Oh, I'm not going to be subservient like that. Submit. Oh, I'm not going to be subservient like that. Okay, well, maybe I'll just change the word. Maybe instead of cook and stay quiet, I'll stay intangible, and you'll be less mad, even though they both mean the same damn thing. But to go back to the central point, I think us as men being slaves to vagina has not done us any favors.
No, it hasn't.
Because like, you know, when you orient your dating and your relationship life solely around the pursuit of sex, not that because like I like sex, like we all like sex, right? It's not even about. You don't have to orient your whole entire life around the pursuit of vagina in order to affirm how much you enjoy sex. Like those two things don't mean, like the two things are not the same. But what we've done as men is we have oriented our pursuit of relationships and women around the sole pursuit of like sexual conquest, to the point where as long as we receive the sex, we do not require the presence of any sort of intangible or substance. And so when you have several generations of that going on, what ends up happening is you get with females who are so averse to the notion of contributing anything other than their mere physical presence, that in the idea that they would have to contribute anything more than that must be tantamount to slavery. And so, you know, I always talk about, you know, one of my themes is what is the progenation of any particular behavior that you think is undesirable. So if you think that females who think that submitting and submission is slavery and therefore they're reluctant to do it within the context of their own relationship, if you think that that's a bad thing or if it's negative, trying to assess, okay, what are the origins of that type of mentality? Where did that come from? What caused that particular type of behavior? And like for me, I think what caused that type of behavior is, you know, single parenthood, but moreover, it's been men who for so long were just like, I just need you to show up. And as long as you have your dial turned to like sex, where all you're saying is, hey man, you just show up and I'll do the rest, then what can you expect other than females to be like, submit to what? I'm here. I don't need to submit. I'm giving you my presence. Therefore, what is there for me? How dare you ask me to submit? And then that's when you get, you know, these sort of weird amalgamations of qualifications and characteristics. And we start talking about the word submitting mean slavery or subservience when it never actually meant that. So I think that we played a role in that dynamic. I don't think we've done ourselves any favors by being slaves to pussy. And you know, again, like you get a lot of these dudes out here who are afraid to think for themselves, and they just kind of conform to societal norms, and they start regurgitating these ideals that being a slave to pussy is what you must be because it affirms your desire for sex and, you know, sexual companionship. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean that. Like pursuit of sex is pursuit of sex. Pursuit of sex just means I am in pursuit of getting this nut. It's completely independent of what would be a successful pursuit of women in any regard. So I just don't think that we've done ourselves any favors with that. But then another thing that you brought up that was interesting is like women and, you know, things like cooking and cleaning and whatnot. It's funny because, and this is what proves the fallacy of slavery, of submission being slavery. Like, what if I was requiring you to be what if I required you to be a gardener? Would you feel the same? Would you feel that I was enslaving you if I was requiring you to be a gardener? Right? Like, it's an interesting thought because traditionally, when we're talking about subservience and submitting, we're talking about the normal low-hanging fruit: cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, taking care of the kids. So in other words, if I as a man am requiring my partner to be someone who takes care of the kids, cooks and cleans and does laundry, oh, you trying to whatever, right? But what if those weren't my standards? What if my standards were, hey man, I'm requiring my partner to tend to the garden, to handle the landscaping? Would we still think of, would you still have that same idea that you're being unreasonably subservient to me? And it goes back to my central point that we attach ourselves to these labels and these symbolic notions of what we've traditionally thought to be, you know, symbolically submission or subservience. So if I say go in and cook, you're going to think that you're being my slave. But if I say, hey, can you go out there and garden? Garden has a more angelic, less antiquated notion of submission attached to it. So you might be more open to the idea of acquiescing to my gardening requirement because you don't attach the same level of slavery to gardening that you do with cooking and cleaning. So like a lot of this boils down to labels just as well as it boils down to the way that we've chosen to, you know, actively try to deconstruct a lot of these rules. Like, you know, like if we just got out of the mindset of the labels and just understood that, you know, submission has less to do with subservience and slavery and more to do with capitulating to the strengths and weaknesses that we respectively bring to the table within the context of this relationship, then we'd be all the better for it. But we've just kind of decided that it's all about the labels. So don't ask me to cook, but you can ask me to garden. I'm good with that. Because in my mind, I don't process gardening the same way that I process cooking and cleaning. Why? I guess because it's less traditional. Hell, if I know. But really, it's all the same thing. And it's just interesting because we don't really think of it the same, but it actually is the same. Like, I could be a guy who requires my partner to, you know, hang drapes. I'm not going to hang drapes. Hang drapes. I can be a guy who requires that my partner be a person who is adept at interior design or is really good at maintaining, you know, at paying, like pay the water bill, pay the light bill, whatever the hell. I don't care. They're all the same. They're all matters of submission within reason, but it just depends on what the actual act is. We kind of glean it differently. And I've always found that to be kind of fascinating. Because if you require a modern feminist to be your gardener, she might not have much to say. But if you ask her to cook, you know, you're gonna be dealing with, you know, Pompeii. You know, you're gonna be dealing with the underworld at that point. You know, the asteroids are coming to take us all out if you ask me to cook. But if you ask me to, you know, plant some of these sunflowers or lay some mulch down, I might be more inclined to acquiesce to some of your requirements.
Well, but see, here's the thing, and that is an angle. But here's the thing, like for women, like how the Kittie woman was explaining, is those type of women that just overtly, I ain't no slave. Hey, you talking all that right here. Those are the women who don't take orders at all.
Under any circumstance.
Under any circumstances. And that's what I was saying. So it's for certain, if it can be something that she would naturally do. Like, so this is the thing, like when you're dealing with somebody who just doesn't fuck with authority, just like at all.
It ain't no. It's not even that she doesn't fuck with authority, because if she's at work, she's gonna adhere to authority.
No,
she just doesn't want to fuck with your authority.
Right, but so here's the thing. So yeah, she deals with authority, but exactly. But at the same time, yeah, she doesn't deal with yours because, well, you're not the boss in her world.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course she's going to respect the work situation or whatnot. But even then, women like that just don't respect authority, like, just at all. And so you see them in public. They got attitudes all the time. They're never happy, and they just, everything's a rebuttal, everything's a fight back. And so if you ask a woman to garden, she would take that as an order. That's what I'm getting at. For women that take that, who takes those as orders, is like, I'm not doing it. I'll do it on my terms, though. That stuff. And it's just like, why are you being like that? And it's just like, hey, it's because I'm a man. So what feminism has done is that they've created this boogeyman. First of all, dudes is not helping the cause. All right. So if they had a bad pool of guys that she was dealing with initially, that ain't helping either.
Exactly.
But then when what feminism does is they tell you that every man is a monster,
right,
and a goblin. Then once they hear me talk, they go, hey, you're reasonable. And I said, yeah, because there's reasonable people out here. Not everybody's a caveman. So there is reasonable guys out here that actually think and stuff, And so what women have done is they don't give us enough credit. And so they feel as though every man that would be given orders or commands or whatever they want to call them, he's going to be abusing his power. So there's good supervisors and there's bad supervisors. There's good bosses and there's bad bosses. All right. I would argue that there's more bad bosses than good bosses. All right. So there's going to be more bad boyfriends and husbands than there are going to be good boyfriends and husbands. But for the guys that are, the good guys, all right, that what we have to do is filter out the women who are so scarred that they think submission is a curse word. They think that's a 4-letter word. So if that is an area of importance during the filtration and interview process, before you even onboard her, the whole thing is like, hey, how do you feel about X, Y, and Z? Whatever your thing is. And if she's kicking and, oh, no, I don't do that. Oh, what you mean? Oh, no, I can't be doing this for no man. Not unless you put the ring on it first. Got it. So you want me to wait. You want me to wait. You want me to buy the car. You want in full. There's no fine.
You want me to buy the car and then you give me the Carfax.
Exactly. That's what you want me to do. So I'm not doing that. And so again, man, if you there's so many women out there, bro, and so you can actually do this during your interview process and filter out the crazies, and just get the ones off of your plate that aren't prime candidates. Now, again, if you just want to do your thing and you're out here just trying to have fun, bro, have your fun, do whatever you need to do. But this is for guys that are just like, hey, man, I'm tired of this. I want something real. Well, if you want something real, bro, you gotta find her. She is real, but she's not readily available. She's not like, she's not the one that catches your first eye if you got, your eyes set on sexuality. You know what I'm saying? And so what I had to do was I had to turn off it's still there. It's still there, but it's not as aggressive as it used to be. And now I can look at women and go, hey, you ain't half bad, whatever. What do you have going on? And if she's got something going on, I'll entertain. Because at this point, man, I'm dealing with quality over looks at this point. So I'm dealing with quality of woman over, all that other stuff that I used to prioritize. Now, granted, there is a combination of the two, and I'm holding out. All right. But at the same time, man, hey, I wouldn't mind. I would deal with a situation that I wouldn't have dealt with before,
Yes, on account of your pursuit of quality.
As long as I'm getting quality, bro, and I'm genuinely coming home to peace, man, and she's like allowing that, yeah, I'm jiving with that. I don't need the Maseratis and all that other stuff. Hey, man, I don't do the dash anyway. I'm not Future.
Yeah.
So if I was Future, I'd be doing the dash. I'm not a dash doer. I'm a regular guy.
Yeah.
So I use my blinkers and put on my seatbelt, man. I'm a regular citizen. Yeah. So I just want me a nice regular situation,
Yeah, I do. I hear you. It's just, it's incumbent upon men when they're in that interviewing process to have the discipline to recognize the red flags and listen to them.
Yeah, bro.
Because I think a lot of us will get into those situations, and and you're right. It's a work in progress, and I deal with it still too. I struggle with where I maintain my balance of, where do I set my dial? Do I set my dial to 7 or do I put it on 6? Where do I put my dial? It's a work in progress for sure, but you have to be disciplined enough to recognize when you have encountered a red flag and to say, despite how good she might look, this might not best serve me. Because a lot of guys, too many of us are slaves to vagina, where we will disregard red flags because we just want to smash. And then the problem comes in when you get these women pregnant. Because at that point, all you're doing is perpetuating the cycle of dysfunctionality, because now you're getting them pregnant. And now you're just going to raise more children in dysfunctional situations who are then going to grow up and repeat what you did. And so it ends up becoming like, it's a curse that feeds upon itself and it never stops. So yeah, it really is incumbent upon us to exercise better discipline, self-control. But, it's easier said than done. It's just funny, man. Like I'll go ahead and close mine out. But, you talk about these women who don't under any circumstances take orders. And for the most part, I hear what you're saying. But something tells me that if I, walk into the room and tell my woman, hey, go and make these travel plans for this vacation, she'll probably be willing to take that order.
Yeah.
So it's still at the end, to a certain extent, a lot of this is still conditional. Like, no, you're not going to do everything, but you still adhere to some form of authority so long as it best serves you. Because if I tell you go make these travel plans, here, go take this credit card and go buy yourself something, I'm giving you a command, but you like it. You benefit directly, intrinsically from that command. Therefore, you're more likely to adhere to it. So a lot of this stuff, to me, like I said, is fallacious, and it's based entirely on circumstances, which to me exposes how not real it actually is, and how all of it is rooted in social constructs that don't exist, that we have sort of attached a certain modicum of realism to in order to better serve our own personal ideologies. But at the end of the day, if I tell you to go into the room and get on Expedia and make these flight arrangements so that we can go to Europe for 2 weeks, I'm giving you a command, but you're going to follow that command. So a lot of this is just BS, bro, in my opinion. But that was pretty much all I had to say about it. I agree with what the Kittie lady said in the video. We have lost what things like serving and submission actually mean, but it is what it is. It depends. It is very crucial and necessary for men to just exercise better judgment when they are in pursuit of relationships, because at the end of the day, we set the tone. Relationships don't take place if we don't pursue them, because the women are going to sit back and wait for us to do the pursuing. So it becomes necessary for us to just exercise the better part of good judgment there.
Yep. And and I'll just say that Recognize the red flags, man. Hey, look, man. I do credit checks on everybody. Hard pulls, soft pulls. I just do credit checks now. So if whenever I'm talking to them and I'm asking them these questions, I am really there with the checklist and going, nah, can't,
Yeah.
not dealing with that, not dealing with that. Hey,
And you should feel no way about that because they're doing it to you.
Exactly. And so I'm not getting into no more situations that I didn't plan to, because other ones just roll up on you like, I'll deal with it. It's not bad, and it's like, nah, bro, like you didn't come in on this.
Yeah.
And if you came in on this, nah, I want this. This is what I want. Oh man, I got it. Oh, this is great. And I think that's more or less how it should play out instead of, man, let's see how things play out. Whatever, you cool. I guess, whatever. I guess I love her. Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah. So, I have a list and I'm checking it twice. Red flags are not ignored. If I get anything close to that, again, whatever red flag that's been diagnosed, because of course, if they told me about their past, of course, I'll give them a pass on, whatever. That's what you used to do, right? All right. So, hey, well, we'll see what goes on. And if I get anything remotely close, it's like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this. This has been real, right? And I'm just getting out of there. So
I'm gonna go ahead and exit stage left.
Yeah, just get up out of there as quick as you can, guys. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your life, because the more time you spend in that, the more drama you're going to get into. You're not the one feeding off of it. She is. So just get up out of there, man. Make you another decision and make another choice, and make sure your decision is a little bit more sound. But yeah, man, that's all I have for that one there as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear that, man. So yeah, we'll go ahead and close out, man. A couple of great topics in the book. Be sure to check out the Conscious Approach page on Instagram at ConApproach, CONAPPROACH. I also post the videos to the Facebook page as well. If you want to like that page, check it out. Like the page, share the video, comment on the video. Like this channel, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you appreciated the content. You can find me on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. Check out the website, ConstantApproach.com. And as always, man, continue to support logical content.
Yes, sir. And the name is Dogon SS. All right, not Dog on SS. It's Dogon SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and at YouTube at Dogon SS, and also on any other social media platform. Just go ahead and type in Dogon_SS and you shall find me. All right.
Yes.
As I always say, man, keep it calm, keep it chill, and keep it player. Don't be too high, don't be too low. Don't let anybody get you out of your zone. Stay you, man. Acknowledge the red flags, and don't fall into any traps, man. Stay cool, bro. Keep it player. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. And on that note, man, we'll catch y'all on the flip side. Appreciate you watching. Later.
Peace.